Hi, it's Washington again. The video I shot last week, I did in a different room because I needed to get a good background. And being my first video, I wanted to make sure that it came out as perfect as possible. But yesterday, while thinking about this new video, I said to myself that I would shoot it in my real environment, in the environment where everything that I shared with you last week has happened. Most of it has happened in this room. This is my room. It's where I've done all the thinking. It's where I've gone through all the torture that has led me to the vision I shared with you last week. I basically wanted to present this video and the ones after this in an environment that was truly mine, an environment that captured everything about me at this moment in time. So to my right, outside there is a pen of chickens. So if you hear any funny sounds, any crowing, yeah, there are chickens out there. They're not mine, they're my father's. And over the fence, there is a neighbor who has dogs, and sometimes they bark during the day. And on my right, my whiteboard, of course, and in the background, yeah, some of my clothes. That blue plastic is one of the few formal shirts that I have. Actually, it's my father's. It's one of those few formal shirts that I have that I wear whenever I need to go meet someone on a formal appointment. So when I'm not out there, this is me. This is the room. This is my world. This is how I dress up. So all subsequent videos, unless things change and I move into a real office, are going to be shot from this room. Still on last week's video, I was supposed to start posting daily video blogs on my YouTube channel, Diary of an Aspiring Entrepreneur, but I ran into some troubles not until yesterday. So today is when I start those daily videos, starting with this one. My first video was very nerve-wracking. I still am, because this is something totally new to me, but I'll get there with time. You don't bite, I'm sure you don't bite, so I'll get better and better and better with time. And also in the last video still, I shared partly the vision of Skye World and a little bit of where it's coming from. But today I want to give you a more detailed story of where this vision actually comes from, with the hope that you will start piecing things together and come to understand what this young aspiring entrepreneur is trying to do. And when you do that, my hope is that you help me in whatever way you can. That's all I can ask for. So this vision was sown as way back as 2009. It was Thursday, February 5th, 2009. I remember this day vividly because it was my first day in South Africa as a soon-to-be student at Rhodes University. So when I got there, One of the things, in fact, the thing that caught my attention so much and left a lasting impression was the contrasting level of development. South Africa and Uganda are on totally different levels of economic development, physical and economic. So that picture caught my attention so much, and I liked what I saw. I liked the order, I liked the way things were done. The road alone on which we drove from Port Elizabeth Airport to Grahamstown, where the university is, I had never driven on such a road before. And I remember desiring such a level of development in my country someday. But that was all I did. The following 3 years, I concentrated on my academics. Not until I dropped out of university right before my final year. I was studying a degree in pharmacy. I managed to study the first 3 years, but due to financial issues, I dropped out and had to come back to Uganda. Then things started happening. I started struggling, I started hustling. I went into gambling because I had nowhere else to look. No one could give me a job because I hadn't finished education. No one could employ me because all I knew was pharmacy related and a little bit of business, but what I was looking for was anything related to what I had studied. So I struggled, looked for employment, and I failed. And so I went into gambling with the hopes that I could land life-changing sums someday. At some point in 2012, I remember going to the South African embassy and collecting my repatriation fee, and then took some of it to an online casino. I actually did quite well. I managed to amass about 900 euros in a space of a few weeks. But like all gamblers, I grew confident and greedy, and then I lost everything. But that wasn't the end of my gambling issues. I spent between 2014 and 2018, because I eventually quit in 2018. But the pinnacle of my struggles with gambling and where it eventually led me, robbing me of 4 years of my life, my pristine life, where I could have done something better with my life, where it eventually led me was somewhere no one should ever get to. One night in late October 2017, I got to a point where I had lost all hope. I was unemployed. I had lost a lot of money to gambling. I saw no hope at all. And on that night, in this very room, my bed was there. It's not there anymore. I don't sleep in this room. I was ready to kill myself. I was ready to go because I saw no reason for living anymore. I remember getting so angry at God. For some reason, I felt He had let me down so much. I vented. I was so furious. I vented. I came close to insulting Him, but I didn't. And I was ready to end it all had I found an easy way to do it. So, out of desperation, I cried out for help. I just told him that if you still give a damn about me, if you still give a damn about me, at least show me a sign that I still matter. He didn't answer, of course. And not that he didn't have an answer, but sometimes that's how it works. So I cried myself to sleep. But when I woke up the following morning, something had happened, a miracle of some sort. My sister, one of my sisters, my older sister, who was completely oblivious of the events that had transpired the night before, had slipped under the door, under my door, a 10,000 shilling note. And it was the first thing I saw in the morning. Right there, I knew that was the sign I needed. That was the sign I had cried out for. I didn't want to kill myself anymore. On that day, that morning, I found purpose. I felt I had something to live for. But I also realized that there were other people out there who were suffering, who were going through what I was, and probably even worse. And that realization, coupled with all these events that had happened, the suffering that I had witnessed going on in the nation, the unemployment, young people engaged in the most pitiful jobs you can imagine, led to the founding of Skye Grove back in 2019. So the life-changing experience happened in 2017, late October, but there was a phase of discovery that eventually led me to the founding of this organization, Skye Grove, with a simple mission of making life better, much better for this generation and the ones after that. I envisioned a world where people had enough to live a good life, where people were engaged in jobs that actually mattered, jobs that gave them a good life, where people were healthy, where we preserved our environment. It was a big vision, but under that mission of simply making life much better for this generation and the ones after that. Because it doesn't end with this generation. What we do in this generation is going to affect the coming generation. So that was the mission. And I zeroed down by the end of 2021. So there was founding, but then there was more development that eventually led me to refining the vision, refining the work that needed to be done, the one that mattered. So I zeroed down to 5 areas of work by the end of 2021. And one of them was Skye World, the vision I shared with you in the last video. So Skye World became one of the principal areas of work Skye Grove had to focus on if it had to make this generation much better and also make the ones after it better as well. But the vision of Skye World didn't just come out of the blue. It was a combination of so many things, so many experiences, again, dating back to 2019. And it was also partly born out of the goals I'd set for myself at the beginning of 2021. They were big goals. For someone in my position, if I'd shared them with anyone, they would have called me a crazy man because they were really crazy. I was talking about millions of dollars in revenues and millions more, not millions still in profit. So they were big goals. And the goal that actually led to Skye World was around exportation of agricultural products to the UAE and the Middle East. That is where the vision of Skye World came from. Exportation. I realized when I set that goal at the beginning of 2021 that there was no way I was going to achieve it given our situation as a nation. We didn't have that capacity to export that much. We didn't have the agricultural capacity to export that much produce worth the revenues I was targeting. So I had to think outside the box, literally. And I started connecting with people, and one thing led to another and another and another, and next thing I knew, I was in connection with a person who was connected to a global network of suppliers. I knew my goal, that goal now had a starting point, because with suppliers, I knew exportation became easier. All I needed to do was finding an importer to work with. And again, through connections, I managed to find an importing company in the UAE. And lucky enough, they sent me a partnership letter implying that they wanted to do business with me. I was alone. One man, one company. That was a one-man company, so I was all alone. And so we started preparations, but then I realized exportation alone would not cut it. I mean, there were suppliers out there. I knew I had to bring something different to the table. What else am I contributing to this guy's business besides supply? I had to think outside. So the goal partly evolved from exportation to retail in the UAE and the Middle East. But then still, knowing that the UAE, particularly Dubai, is like the world capital of shopping centers and retail stores, I knew competing there with a physical store would not cut it, because the nation was filled with many of them, and most, if not all of them, were actually ahead of this company, ahead of us, ahead of me, because I was alone at that time. So I knew that competing with a physical store would be a bad idea, and so I decided there and then to cut it out, to not compete like that. I knew I had to find another way to compete in the UAE. One day in September 2021, I got an idea, and this idea actually combined my experiences in South Africa, that desire to create something beautiful, something new, combined with the things I had discovered about myself in 2018, my love for real estate, my love for video gaming. So it combined those three aspects. And then I told myself, what if we competed as a virtual reality mat? Not an online store like Amazon or Alibaba or Jumia, but a virtual reality mat. I drew inspiration from one of the images I had downloaded, a real estate image by Vincent Calibor, a Belgian architect. It actually inspired what I envisioned Skye World being, but at that point it wasn't yet Skye World, it was Skye Mart. So it evolved from Skye Mart to Skye World, but at that point it was Skye Mart because I was thinking only about a physical store, a retail store in which to sell food products. So it was a mart at that point. So when I saw this image, everything connected. I told myself, this is it. This is it. I was so excited to have found the idea because I thought it made us unique. It would make this company unique. I envisioned so many things. I envisioned people being in that store virtually, but feeling as if they were in an actual store. It is not an online store like Amazon where you go, you browse and click. No, I envision people feeling themselves inside this store, buying things, testing these things, smelling these things, so many crazy things. So I was both excited, but then after that, I started questioning my sanity a little bit because such a thing had never existed. And it was insane to think that someone or we could get to a level where we could actually do those things virtually. But that was what I envisioned. So to make sure that my sanity was all well and I was not crazy, maybe spending a lot of time together, alone, I went on the internet to research. And that's when I found that, well, I was okay because there were like minds who were thinking along those lines. And lucky enough, or how can I put this? I can't say lucky, but fortunately, let me use that word. The COVID-19 pandemic, tragic as it was, had made virtualness the future of living, partly the future of living. And we had grown so used to virtual living and virtual meetings, and it felt like the idea was ready. And combined with the ongoing climate change problems we are witnessing, I really felt in my heart that this is it. This could be one of the ways to solve the problems we are having, problems that if we don't solve, we are going to be in trouble. If not in this generation, the ones after. So it came together and I knew this was the idea. And when I started reading about like minds, I realized that, well, the idea is in the pipelines. And one of these like minds was actually Facebook, which has now rebranded as Meta. So the more I discovered what these guys were planning to do and compared with what I had in mind, I saw similarities between our visions. Of course, there are differences because what we want to see is different, but you could see it was all the same DNA, so to say, the same DNA. And so the idea of Skye Mart started evolving into Skye World. I started envisioning a world a virtual reality world where anything and everything was possible. Simple as that. That was the vision of Skye World. It was no longer Skye Mart, a virtual reality store looking to sell healthy food products, but it had evolved into a world where everything and anything was possible. I felt so happy imagining the things that could be possible in that world, some of which I shared in the first video. And it just deepened my belief that this was the way to go. It was the way to go. So the vision of Skye World came to be like that. Of course, like I said in the first video, it is all detailed down on paper. I cannot talk about it and finish it all because it would take hours and hours, but it is detailed somewhere. I wish I could share it. I'll find a way to share it. But I just wanted to give you a brief story of how the vision I shared with you in the last video came about. From way back in South Africa, 2009, to where I am right now. That is the story in brief. And like I said at the beginning of this video, is that I want to clarify things. I want you to see where things are coming from, where things are, and where things are going, with the hope that you can help me in whatever capacity you can to start this journey. Right now, I'm alone. I have absolutely nothing in my life right now. This is everything I have. And although it is saddening to be seated here with just this, the experience has been enriching. And I'm thankful because it has brought me where I am right now. I'm still living in my father's home, something that really, really angers me, but it has also served a good purpose in the sense that it has allowed me that space, that quiet, that freedom to sit down every single day and think and build this thing and put it on paper and be able to share it the way I have. In brief, it is deep, but I've got to a point where I can talk about it from any angle and still make the point I wish to make. But I also stated last video that I'm alone right now. I need people to help work with me. There are so many requirements that are needed. One of them is building a product, something I'll talk about tomorrow in more detail. The vision is so big, it cannot be accomplished, not even in 5 years' time, because the technological hurdles to overcome are many. But there is somewhere I believe we can start, and that is something I'll talk about tomorrow. But I just wanted you to know today that I have a vision that has been in the making for over now, what, 12, 13 years? Yes, 13 years now. It has been building up for 13 years. through good memories and terrible experiences, but they have all led me where I am. But I need help. I've come to a point where I cannot walk alone. I need partners. I need people with specialized knowledge in the field of virtual reality and virtualness. I need advisors. I need people with whom to test our first product when it comes out. It will be something small. It won't be the big vision that is all envisioned, because we cannot get there. But it will be something, a start. It will be a start. If the vision is point Z, this will be point A, where to start and then build to point Z. But I'll talk about that tomorrow. I just want to emphasize the purpose of this video, sharing with you the story and sharing with you the state of things, and imploring you to come on board and support me in any way you can. Take this vision the same way I have, and just find that place you can play. And at the end of the day, we are going to get to point Z, and we shall all be happy and proud about it. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. But tomorrow I'll talk about the work that's been done so far and where I believe we can start. So see you tomorrow.